Well, here we are. We need to make a scrapbook page that shows a wintry scene that we can place some of our photos and other things on top of. So let's get started. Within Photoshop Elements, I'm going to create a new document, blank file. I'm going to use the scrapbooking subcategory in the presets. And I think I'll make an 8x8 and we'll call it Snowy Background. Just, whoops, like that. And OK. Simple, beautiful white background. An open slate for us to get busy on. So let's get busy on it. I want to create a gradient on the back, and I'm going to use some of the presets that come with Photoshop Elements. This one is the simple category, and I think we'll just start with blue. But I want to make the stops a little bit different. So let's open this. We're going to drag this blue to the middle to kind of increase how quickly it goes from white to blue. So up here, let's add another stop. I click to add, and this one we're going to make a bit darker, more like a night sky. So let's bring this down to almost, but not quite, black. And OK, and you can see the gradient that we're going to create here. I still think that blue is too close, so let's bring that over, and our dark, dark, dark navy blue sky a little bit more. Click OK to accept it, and let's just draw the gradient from the bottom to the top. And there it is. Very simple. Now it looks almost like a wintry night, but we can do a little bit better than that. I'm using my mouse wheel to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to create a new layer right there, and I'm going to choose the elliptical marquee right there. Zoom out a little bit more, and let's start drawing maybe some snowy hills. Just like this. We'll pull that one down here a bit. Now I want to fill this with yet another gradient. So I'm choosing the gradient tool. I'm going back to my basic presets here, and we'll just choose the blue one. And let's just start drawing that gradient. That looks pretty good for a nice little foreground. Let's make it a little more white. Okay, we'll go with that. We will deselect, and there we kind of have a hill. Let's create another hill. Add another layer. I'm going to bring it down underneath the layer we just drew. Once again, I'm going to choose the elliptical marquee and just start dragging out a selection here. Something like that. And we'll bring it maybe down over here. And again with the gradient, we can stay with the same gradient and just simply start drawing. Oh, we'll make that one just a bit more of a glow. Select, deselect. There we've got two little hills. Let's add a third one way back here in the distance. Once again, a new layer. We will bring it beneath the layer we just drew. Elliptical marquee. And we'll make this one a little bit higher. How about that? And bring it down this way. Once again with the gradient tool. Let's darken this one up just a little bit. So we will click there, choose our color, and bring that one down to maybe more of a richer blue. And OK. And we will draw the gradient this way. Sure, that looks good. Select, deselect, zoom back in, and there's just some of our hills. Now on top of this, you could add some text. You can drop in some of your photos that you may have, or we can add some trees and stars. Let's add some trees and stars. I'm going to go to my custom shapes. You can see I have one tree already selected, and where I found it was in the all element shapes, and there's a whole bunch of trees up here. Now you may want a Christmas tree. You may just want a, let's try this one. I haven't used this one in a while. Close this. And we just want a silhouette, so maybe a very dark, rich green for this tree. And I'm just going to start drawing a tree. And there it is, but somehow it's behind this hill. So we need to change that so it's more on the top, only behind our foreground hill, which is this hill here. Let's draw a few more of these trees. We can place them back. Maybe these guys are a little further away. And perhaps a partner back here. Maybe one more little tree here and here. And there's our trees that we've just created. Very simple. I'd like to add some stars to the sky as well. So clicking on my background layer, I'm going to create another layer just above it, as you can see down here. And within this layer, I'm going to fill it with white. To do that on my keyboard, I simply hit Control and Backspace, and it's filled with white. The reason this layer has to be filled is so that we can run the noise filter. Noise filter will not work on an empty layer. So we'll add some noise. We'll make it Gaussian and monochromatic, and maybe about that much. Doesn't look like much right now, but if I invert this layer, let's see, the simplest way to do this is just Control I on the keyboard, just like that. Now I want to blur this layer a bit and bring out some of those stars. Zoom in a bit, just a slight blur, and OK. Now one more trick that we can do. I'm going to zoom way out again, and I'm going to transform this layer. Control T is the keyboard shortcut. I will just drag this and just drag this, and that really increases the size of that layer. Clicking OK, zooming back in, now you can see we have some stars there. It's a little bit too intense, so let's change it to maybe a soft light mode. Excuse me. And we will just reduce the opacity a little bit. Now from here, again, you can add some text. You could add some photos on top here and position them however you'd like them. I want to go one more and maybe create a burst in the very background of this. I'm a big fan of bursts. So again, I'm going to go back to my custom shape tool. All element shapes are still selected, and I'm choosing the registration target 2. Click that to select it. Let's close this palette, and I'm going to need to zoom way out yet again because this wheel is very large. Something like this, I think, will work. Really doesn't look like much. So let's zoom back in again. On top of this layer, I'm going to add an adjustment. I'm going to create a gradient, and the gradient is going to be maybe a light cyan, and we'll make it go to cyan a little faster, and again add yet another darker color blue to this. Similar to that. The downside is that covered up our entire background, so we need to make it only affect the shape. To do that, you group it with the layer below by simply pressing Ctrl G on the keyboard, just like that. It's a little bit intense, so we can reduce the opacity to about there, and then our shape, we will also reduce the opacity way down to maybe there. Clicking another layer, and there's our burst. And that is the beginnings of your scrapbook page. I hope you had fun.